Commentator. Come on. You okay? JR! JR, you okay? Have you seen what's gone on in the last 28 hours?
No, guys. You guys ready to do movie grade, though?
Jared, the world ended. I mean, I assume that's why you're dressed like that.
Yeah, you're orange.
I'm orange?
Yeah, why are you orange?
Oh.
It's my skin regimen.
Right.
Okay.
Well, world ended. You still want to do movie grade?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us. This is Movie Grade. I'm your host, J.R.Alva. I'm joined here today with...
Hi, I'm Jay Anderson.
And Victor Edmonds.
Thank you guys for joining us. All right, so this weekend we had the opportunity to watch 28 Years Later, the part of the trilogy of the 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later. For myself, my first impression, I enjoyed it. I had a good time, but there are a lot of layers to this movie that we gotta dissect and go through. And I'm actually pretty stoked about doing this review for you guys. So let's go ahead and jump right in. My first impression, right off the bat, like I said, I was really happy with seeing Aaron Taylor Johnson, if I'm not mistaken. And but there's a lot to say about this movie, and I'm trying not to spoil anything. But we were greeted with a pretty good cast in this movie, and it's pretty surprising. What was your first impression?
My first impression was I actually went into this movie with not knowing what to expect, but pretty much ready to just take in all the post-apocalyptic tropes. And I'm proud to say this movie was not only moving, but incredibly hard to predict. I was at least wrong twice in that movie. So really good movie, very hard to predict for me.
I didn't know what similar thought, didn't know what to expect from the film, where they go after days, weeks, kind of ignoring months. Where do they go 28 years later? And it's kind of a different, unique post-apocalypse, but not quite post-apocalypse, more isolationist existence.
Oh yeah, definitely. I really did like the theme that they were going for. That instead of this being a worldwide spread, which it could have easily turned into, but didn't, so far that we know. I think it really led you down a different path. Which is your typical zombie movie. Let's just say, what happens? It spreads like wildfire, goes all across the globe, and now everything is complete pull, for lack of a better term. With that said, though, going into the cast and characters, I mean, like I said, I like Aaron Taylor Johnson, but I love the fact that he wasn't the most central, integral piece of the story. The story, when you compare it to the first two movies, it really splits you off into a different direction. And I think that was something that I thought was pretty neat, that they didn't go completely formulaic. And I think that was one of the things that I liked about the theme of the story along with the characters. How did you feel about that?
Same thing. Going into this, you're expecting an Aaron Taylor Johnson. From the advertisement, Jodie Comer looked like she was the main character of the movie, but no, it's the little kid. He's kind of like the centerpiece of the movie, and I was not expecting to follow him the entire movie. Again, one of the many things I couldn't predict. So I was really amazed by that. The entire cast is just fantastic, and without going into too much spoilers, Ralph Fiennes is just, wow, amazing in that movie. Just absolutely amazing. Just, again, not the character I thought he was going to portray.
Yeah, honestly, Alfie Williams, who played Spike, he hadn't been in many movies. He's been like kids in movies, or young versions of people in, playing the young people versions of of those characters. But to put this whole movie in a way on his back, and this poor kid has to go through a lot. and he has to encounter so much, like, and you're kind of like wondering where does he get a break. And Ralph Fiennes too. Honestly, you put him in a movie, he makes it better.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So going forward into we're talking about the cast and characters and going straight into the storyline. When you, I guess, like we all said, this was definitely out of the formula. This was definitely came out of left field, which for some people they might not like because most people like the formula. They like how, I know that they're technically not zombies. It's more like a rabies type. When you look at the infected, as the only way to describe them, and I like how the story gave you. I mean, you can see the three different parts: Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and Act 1 is literally, I don't know if I want to say. I guess it's that way. It's not too big of a spoiler. Spoiler alert! It's a coming of age story for somebody, and it's one of those. It's coming of age. It's one of those where we're looking at somebody turning into a man. Is essentially when you look at it, and so Act 1 kind of like, wait, what? Okay, so this is what the story's about. But then Act 2 and Act 3 just you couldn't see what was going to happen. So story wise, I liked the different dimensions that it gave us, but I'm kind of curious what you guys think. How did you guys think about the story?
Well, the story itself, I liked it too. I did get what you were talking about in the first act about the coming of age story, but I don't think it changed its theme. I think it kept the coming of age story throughout the whole story. I just think that the way he came about to becoming a man, this whole self-discovery route was different every single time. It's almost like it starts off ritualistic, do this ritual, you become a man. No, it later turns into doing what he feels he needs to do to become a man. And then ultimately just being his own person in the end. And again, I am trying to be so vague without giving out spoilers, but to me, the story I felt like had a very emotional point to it. It could have easily just turned into a typical, coming of age, killing zombie type of cliche, but instead it was just filled with heart, filled with remorse, and it's almost like you emotionally grow with this kid. That's what I felt. So that's where I felt like it was a coming to age story, but still like different approaches on how to become that quote unquote man.
Yeah, it's very interesting rite of passage for him to go through.
That's the term. Thank you.
To start questioning what it is to be, I guess, an adult or a man in this world that's kind of fallen apart, that's been cut off, and you're wondering what's true, what's not true, and that's a lot of his emotional journey where he's starting to wonder, this world's not what it seems, my family's not what it seems, so what do I do? How do I deal with this?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so moving forward with the movie, I will say this: the special effects on this were pretty great. I mean, I really enjoyed a lot of the stuff that they pulled out. I think I don't know if they did something special or if they use a stage or what, but there's like the stuff having to do with the water. And I mean, just there's so much that pops up here. So, and I love how they use practical effects over special effects. How did you feel about the special effects?
Same thing. The practical effects to me were just, typical of every zombie movie, any horror movie. I mean, they were good. They weren't CGI'd. I really didn't really pay attention to that. What actually drove me was the sets that were built there and everything there. Because again, special effects are more than just makeup and whatever. It's the look of the whole environment, and the sets were just amazing without getting too much into it. Ralph Fiennes' little temple, for lack of a better term, the whole island itself, just beautiful landmarks throughout the whole thing. I think the set design was just immaculate in that movie.
Also, it's shot very beautifully. Like almost all Danny Boyle's films are shot with these unique perspective, and he keeps on changing his style as he goes. Like this one was shot in you have two guys carrying all these iPhones on in a curved form, and you would catch all these catch everything to catch his best angle, best reaction. And the way the infected were presented was oh my god, they were a threat every time they showed up. but it felt very real. It didn't feel like CGI'd to no end.
All right, guys. Well, moving forward, let's go. I already kind of have a grade when it comes to mine in this, but I want to hear what your guys' overall thoughts are, and I want to hear that grade. So we are called movie grade. So on a scale of F to A plus, what do you rate this movie?
I'm actually going to give it an A minus. It's A material. It's hitting the mark. It hits all the predictability and stuff. There's Without giving up too much away, there's something that happens in the end that just kind of completely takes me out of the movie completely. And I think if it wasn't for that, I would have given it a higher grade, but I might be in the minority in that. And if you know what I'm talking about, then go ahead and tell me I'm wrong in the comments.
I'd give it an A. Honestly, I can see where he's coming from with that, but towards the end, that is a setup for a sequel they've already shot. And to me, that felt like, I feel what they did there was an interesting thing where you're taking a kid to a new level. He's chosen to expand his world. So in expanding that world, you discover new things, and you're gonna have to deal with that as you go. And I do think, honestly, from the performances of all the main cast, where they all brought their A game, and the way it was shot, the way all the landscapes look beautiful in this strange way, like nature is taking back the world and repairing it, but with that in a broken way.
Thank you guys for your grades. I'm gonna have to agree with Jay on this one. I'm gonna have to go with an A minus also, because as a whole, everything was fantastic up until the end, and it's one of those things. And I know that I like to think about like how Chef Gordon Ramsay will say something about like restaurants and everything like that. Whenever you're putting food out and everything, and you're pumping this stuff out, you can have a fantastic start. Everything could be great in the middle, but that finish, if you don't finish it just right, sometimes that takes away from it. And I think that's what it boiled down to. You had me like perfectly at an A plus, but just at that point, and yes, I know it's a setup for a sequel, and you can't help but notice, but I have to say it does take away from it. So my grade, I'm gonna have to give it an A minus as well. All right, guys, thank you for your grades. I think if we go ahead and wrap this up and go with an overall grade, I think an A minus is probably
the average.
The average when it boils down to it. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for your grades, and thank you for your time. Once again, I'm J.R.Alva, voice actor, and now a musician. So thank you guys for following us. I'm joined here today with...
Hi, I'm Jay Anderson, General Manager at PWL and co-founder for United Oddity.
I'm Victor Edmonds. I am a co-founder of United Oddity, head writer there, and you follow us on Instagram and every other form of social media.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much for your time and everything. And please, guys, like, share, subscribe. All of the links will be on the bottom if you want to follow us on everything that we're doing. And thank you so much for watching.